Yo, Ryan Trunky here. We're back at it with a new part of why Deku had energy manipulation. So let's hit it. So basically last time, I ended the video with he began to hear Ochako shout while this happened before darkness engulfed him. So today's episode. 3 days had passed since the attack on the camp. Class 1A, 1B, the Pussycats, Kora, Aizawa, Enko, Mirio, Timaki, and Nijire were in the hospital, waiting to know the status of Izuku. On the 4th morning, Izuku woke up and as his eyes adjusted to the fluorescent light, he moved his head to the left and saw get well flowers, cards, and large stuffed bear. Some flowers looked like they were older, so Izuku siphoned what's remaining of life force they had. Izuku was now standing and stretching when nurse walked in and saw him awake. She ran out to get the doctor and notify his visitors that he's awake. "Oh boy, I've got hell to pay," he said as the first two people were Nijire and Ochako, who tackled him into the bed as tears filled their eyes. The two spoke after their eyes met with Izuku. "You idiots, you could have died!" Immediately the two hit Izuku over his head, with Nijire starting first. "How could you be so stupid and put yourself through that? Do you know how scared we were for you while sitting and waiting in a waiting room? When I first saw you, I literally thought you were gonna die. Next time you do this, don't scare me half to death. Do you know how hard it was to explain this to Nijire and your mom? Or even how hard it was to see you in the state you were in? It was scary." Both immediately hugged Izuku, burying their heads in his half chest for Izuku to realize just how scared he made them. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, and I want you to know that I won't do anything as reckless as what I did again." Izuku rests his head on there and smiles. "You two are some of the most important people in my life, and I will never let anyone or anything happen to you and make you two upset like this ever again. I promise." "You better not." Ochako lifts her head up to show her tears to Izuku along with Nijire, who shows an angered face. "You do, and you will have to deal with us next time." Izuku only nodded in compliance, since he knew how angry girlfriends weren't good to deal with. It wasn't until Aizawa walked in. "I'm sorry girls, but you might get angry at Midoriya again sooner than I expected." The trio looked up and were waited for him to explain. "Catalyst has been asked to aid us in raiding the LOV hideout, or also known as Lico Villain Hideout." The girls looked at Izuku but knew they couldn't stop him since he was being requested. So, 2 hours later, after being able to recover a good amount of energy, Izuku was handed his hero suit and changed, then was escorted to where the raid team would be. On arrival, Izuku was met by many pros, including Gang Orca and Edshot, who were somewhat happy to see him again. "Catalyst, nice to see you. Seems your hard work has gotten the attention of many." Izuku bowed his head to his teacher before Endeavor walked over. "So why is the kid here?" "The police had asked for him to be part of this. His ability to heal others along with his combat abilities were something that made him stand out. We also assumed it would be easier to watch over him, considering the last attack by the League was to target him in particular. To be honest, this got somewhat personal when they target my friends. Let's just say I'm more than happy to lend a hand after a stunt they pulled." Izuku smirked while letting out somewhat killer aura. It only stopped when Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder to see it was All Might. "Care forward, young Catalyst?" Izuku said nothing but followed the pro out to speak. "I first want to apologize for doing nothing during the incident at the training camp. I should have been there to help. Yet you kids pay the price for my negligence." "I don't hold you accountable, All Might. Things played out the best they could with only me being seriously injured. Nobody was killed or seriously injured. 3 of the villains at the camp were taken into custody, and we've finally gotten the chance to take the League by surprise. We may have not been a good term for some time, but right now we need to be on temporary truce. We both need to be on a temporary truce, so be at your best, sir. You are a person who could most likely end this. Keep that in mind before things go any farther. All Might understood before saying one last thing, and he said, I think you should know young Togata was the person I thought could be the next successor after our conversation back then. He's good person out of everyone I can think of. He probably deserves that better than anyone else, pros included. Izuku walked in with All Might letting a deep sigh out. Keep focused, this is slightly your fault, yes, but you need to focus as young Midoriya said. If anything happens to me, One for All will continue since young Togata has become my new successor. So, in the raid, the plan had been explained with All Might headshot. The police and other pros had gone to the location of the League hideout while Izuku Gang or Kabe's Genius, Might and Mount Lady and others were sent to the warehouse where the Nomo who had tracker was as the raid began to enter its beginning stages. Izuku looked around to notice the abnormally run-down building. Catalyst, go around the site to see if their enemy truly is inside. Izuku did as Gang Orca suggested to notice something disturbing. Tanks filled with ready-to-go Nomo and all prepared for departure. Izuku backed slowly away from the building before walking back to the group of pros. What did you find? It's the Nomo factory. Dozens of them. They are inside ready to go. Who in their right mind will think to make something so screwed up? Alright, stand by until we get to the signal, son. Izuku stood behind the pros trying to compose himself. Commons operation. The police gave authorization to start with Mount Lady growing to her max size to kick down the side of the building for them to enter. Let's go, move, move, move. In less than 3 minutes, every Nomo was secured and kept from going anywhere. While waiting for the further instruction, Izuku couldn't shake a bad feeling he had. Something's wrong. Everyone looked at Izuku curious as he explained. We are in a factory for the Nomo, and we met with a little to any problem. We're talking about the group that invaded UA, attacked Hosu City, and found a training camp that was meant to be hidden with a few knowing. This raid is too easy. You just overthinking it, kid. Relax and understand we got them with their pants down. The green-haired boy put his guard off with hoping Mount Lady was correct in her concept. Once they heard footsteps, however, Izuku knew this in his belief were for good reason. Clever boy he is. He can see through the charade better than some of you heroes. In an instant, Bagines pulled the fibers of the unknown person close together to stop them from moving. What do you think you're doing? He could be a civilian. We are in the League's hideout. I doubt he is just any civilian. Before many could react in time, the unknown man let loose a shockwave that destroyed the facility with some of Camino ward that was in general direction. The sound of clapping could be heard from a man as he levitated above the ground. Nicely done, child. Not only are you clever to smell out a trap, but you are fast enough to stop my attack. The smoke disappeared to show Genius pulling every pro beside him and Izuku out of the way of the blast. Are you alright, Catalyst? Genius asked while seeing Izuku's hand bloodied and cut open from the attack. Not that worst attack, but that doesn't mean it's painless. Due to some quick thinking on his part, Izuku was able to absorb the life energy of the blast in the direction with only his hand having injuries. Between the two, quite the quirk you have, boy. Such shame you must die here. The main image was now shown with a being that of a well-kept man with a strange visor that had tubes coming out of it. Genius, how is everyone? They seem to be getting back up. That's a relief. Now, we need to focus on both the people that were hurt and the villain in front of us. All for One didn't hesitate and shot his tendrils trying to impale Izuku, but he ended up puncturing the water main beneath them. Thanks to that, Izuku was able to absorb the water and metal to heal himself and his allies. Now with everyone up and ready to fight, it will make it easier for him, but he was wrong. Izuku did his best to block all the tendrils aimed at him while using his sword, while the other heroes were trying to deal with any damage of all for one, but nothing was working until he opened the multiple portals, bringing all the villains and heroes from the bar hideout. When Shigaraki got up and saw Catalyst, he charged at him trying to decay him, but he was met with a powerful up punch by Izuku, who was being surrounded by other villains who were still with Shigaraki. All Might then swooped in on the battlefield in order to assist, with All For One taking most of his attention. How adorable, a master coming to save his students. The two began going against each other, with Izuku managing somehow with the villains. Fortunately, Dabi was unconscious due to the period attack against them, so the major opponents were the villains known as Toga, Spinner, Compressed twice, and Magna. Out of all five, Compressed was the more dangerous due to his ability to confine things into small marbles. That didn't mean that rest were not threats. However, Toga skill with a small knife had nearly got Izuku quite a few times, with it twice coming over to end the punch him. This was met with Izuku grabbing the villain arm before swinging him into Toga before finding himself being sent toward Magna thanks to her quirk. Gotta think of something. I'm gonna go ahead first into the magnet trying to aim and solve the major problem. Izuku shoots a small beam at the enormous magnet. Magna had to turn it into a dust. With still forward momentum, Izuku punched the lights out of the villain before looking at Compress and Spinner. He got into a fighting stance before charging at the two. They were cut off, however, by a small shockwave, nearly blasting the three of them away. The Greenets boy looked at the fight between All Might and All For One to only think one thing about the class. This looked like a clash of titans instead of a hero and villain. Who are you looking, boy? Or where are you looking, boy? Spinner came at Izuku for him to dodge just in time to only get small cuts in his chest. I got everyone we need to head out. Compress attempted to make an exit, with Izuku dodging a slash made by Spinner to charge at the masked villain. You've got another thing coming if I'm letting you all walk away like nothing. Compress attempted to turn Izuku into a marble with his hand for him, only to dodge by grabbing his wrist and hosting himself over the Compress to give a strong axe kick to the head. Compress fall backward, with Spinner realizing he was outmatched. Come on, Gecko, show me what your resolve is. Spinner was knocked out, however, by Gran Torino kicking him in the face while making his entrance on the field. Good to see you again, kid. Gran Torino, always a pleasure. Their reunion was cut short by hearing explosion and noticing All Might was barely keeping up with All For One. And kid, what are you doing? Izuku jumped into the fight while running his hand on the destroyed ground to gain some life energy before passing it to All Might. Get your how can I say this? ASS in gear number 1. Izuku attempted to frontal attack with a formal villain before he raised his hand to out to send a massive shockwave. Thanks to his still enhanced reaction time, Izuku dodged at the last second to keep going and knee the villain in the face, cracking his visor in the process. I must say, you are talented, young man, perhaps too talented. All For One sent a shockwave to send Izuku flying back, to only be caught by All Might. While he stood back in his 2 feet, Izuku hero costume like top's half was blown off to have a nearby helicopter catch him damaged body in full view. Every man, woman and child in the country has seen the damage done to Izuku. For most parents to either hug their child or put them away from the screen altogether. My all might, to think you have taken such a destroyed successor like this. I doubt he isn't already in his deathbed like yourself. All for one started to laugh, with Izuku getting angered. So what? Everyone looked at Izuku as he walked over enraged. Just because I didn't have something that everyone else had in the beginning doesn't mean I was weak. Just because you couldn't hurt me easily doesn't mean I didn't feel the pain. Izuku now shouted at last parts with everyone hearing. And just because my body is shown for all to see doesn't mean I won't kick your ass right here and now. Izuku ran up to the villain with his hand emitting a very bright light within the palm of his hand, like shooting maximum decay shot. The attack seemed to have taken effect immediately. This had given Izuku an opening as he charged at All for One with his sword. When Izuku saw a pile of rubble used it to leap at All for One, but was caught by his neck and shock slammed into the ground. Boy, announce your name to the world before you die. The world awaits for the young man to say his name. And I am the hero of life, Catalyst. Suddenly almost shot at All for One with a powerful barrage of punches, shattering his mask which had caused All Might his buff form. You're starting to be a real nuisance, All Might. How about we show the world that you really look like? When the dust finally settled, All Might was seen and the people couldn't believe that their symbol of peace was a skeletal-looking man who was exhausted and on his knee, with a little bit of power still in the tank. The woman who was trapped in the rubble of a building began to plead All Might. Please, All Might, don't give up. He suddenly felt rejuvenated as he saw Izuku transform power to him. I'll buy you the time you need, make it count. Izuku rushed All for One, again dodging the tendrils while blasting decay bullets while began to annoy All for One. That's why he led him to the max out one powerful attack mixing multiple quirk. You'll taste my full power, boy. Air cannon, spring like limbs, canting booster time 4, strength booster time 3, revet, bone like spear. Now prepare for your death, Catalyst. All for One had sent his immense power to Izuku in an attempt to block it. Izuku used his quirk in his hand to grab and siphon any and all power from the villain due to their reverts and spears in the first fist. However, they punctured Izuku's hand to make him release blood-curdling scream while being pushed back. I gotta stop him and make an opening. I must say, boy, you are handling yourself better than I expected, but that isn't good enough to impact to recoil. Izuku's arm began to shoot blood from cuts in a vibration from the shock of his own impact with the monster. He was his hand shaking in pain as his eyes began to dim. Power is wasted on the likes of you. You are too weak. Izuku started to see his life flash before his eyes. All the bullying, all the abuse, all the physical and emotional pain he suffered from almost a decade brought back to the surface to realize he's been weak for a long time. Strength counts for more than just having power. Izuku's mind was brought out while see All Might behind with all the power of one for all he had left in his fist. Power is only meant to go somewhere, but it doesn't mean one is strong or weak immediately. The strong are the one that stand even when it's hard to fight when it seems helpless, and be able to hold hurts even when they shouldn't have to. While hearing this, All for One attempted to evade, with Izuku grabbing his arm with his second hand. Where do you think you're going? Max Siphon. Izuku pulled as much energy out of All for One while All Might gave one final hit to end it. So long, All for One. United State of Smash. The attack created a massive shockwave along with a tornado that had nearly pulled the helicopter above them recording the fight down. As the smoke cleared, the two figures emerged. One was All Might posing with a fist up to symbolize the fight was over, and the other being Izuku screaming to the heaven in both pain and adrenaline, saying they won. Across Japan, everyone cheered for the duo victory, with Ochako and Nijure praying to whatever god, saving their boyfriend from meeting an end to such a monster. So several hours later, as the cleanup began to meet and its end, with many pro heroes supporting the relief efforts, Izuku and All Might watched as All For One was pulled away in a quirk nullifying straitjacket. However, something rather particular happened while he was being pulled away. All Might, what's he doing? Izuku began to panic, seeing the villain become engulfed in darkness to make his feature distort and take a different form. This image was one of the man with a wild, unkempt hair and freckles that formed a diamond as if connected one. His eyes opened and emerald green was shown before panicked face was discovered. What's happened? Where am I? The man seemed extremely confused and scared as Izuku walked up and said, "Who are you people?" Then we can hear that Izuku, as the man was still confused, he began to yell the question out of fear. "Who are you? What did you call me that? My son was barely born." So with that, I'm gonna end it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'm sorry for I couldn't upload for the last 3 days. I have been busy trying to open my a bank account, but I hope things will go smoothly from now on. And yeah, so don't like the video until you enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and spend the most time you have with the most precious people you have. And don't forget, please, to subscribe and press the notification bell. Help us to get to 10k soon before the end of the year. And yeah, catch you in the next video. Peace out. Bye bye.